Hi folks, and welcome back to Handlebars and Holidays once again. And here we are on the rather magnificent Triumph Tiger 1200 GT Explorer, the brand new one. This is the all singing, all dancing model. So we will pull up just in a second and have a quick look around this beast. But first things first, thanks goes to Cully's Triumph in Balcatta for the loan of this bike today. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. And anybody that lives in Perth in Western Australia should pop in and see the guys there at Cully's in Balcatta. It's a fantastic shop. Huge stocks, huge accessories, massive clothing range, but most of all, really nice people. They're not pushy, they're just really nice. So pop in and see the guys there at Cully's Triumph in Balcatta. So we'll find a nice little spot and just have a quick look around the bike, shall we? Okay, so here we are with the 2022 Triumph Tiger GT Explorer, the new 1200. This is a lovely bike. So I've literally only had the bike for a matter of minutes. Just thought we'd have a quick look round. We'll ride some more. We'll talk about the specs a little bit more in a while. But I just wanted to show you what a lovely looking bike this really is. Triumph of getting so much right these days. So this being the GT, the more road orientated version, and the Explorer aspect basically being the bigger tank, 30 litre tank. But what a lovely looking bike that is from the front. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, so let's jump back on, do a few more Ks, and then we'll talk a bit more in a minute. Okay, so here we are. What a lovely, comfortable, pleasant place this is to be. This is a very, very nice bike, and to be honest, regulars to my channel will know that I ride a 2019 1250 GSA BMW. So I said to myself on the way down that I wouldn't draw too many comparisons. Obviously that's not really going to work because I can't really help myself. But the position in terms of the ergonomics, I would say it's identical. I actually feel like I'm on the BM. So absolutely no difference there. The seat, initially, the first thing that strikes you is, in my case, is generally the foot position and the seat. The feet position is lovely. It's just really, really nice. The seat is very comfortable, feels a little bit soft. Hopefully it would stay feeling comfortable, but at the moment the seat feels excellent. The position is just really, really nice. Obviously Triumph have set this bike up as being their competitor for the GS, which has been the sort of market leader of this big adventure type bike for obviously for years. So they're going after a pretty high bar, shall we say. But we'll talk about the specs a little bit more in a while. Essentially what they've managed to do is beat the GS on just about every spec. But what I'm aiming to do today, especially as somebody that's riding a GS, is just to give you a sort of a real world view of what I see kind of to be the differences, and just an overall. I don't think this bike should really be thought of as being just, you know, the GS's competitor. It is a bike in its own right. Everybody's going to draw comparisons, though, it's inevitable. But yes, okay, so the ergonomics. This bike, being the GT Explorer, has all the bells and whistles. It's got just about everything. I'm not going to run through the specs at this point. We'll do that in a little while. Yeah, I mean, it's just a nice place to be. I mean, looking at the dash there and everything, what a lovely TFT. I'm not exactly sure what size that TFT is, but it's super clear. I've barely used the quick shifter as yet, so I don't want to pass judgment on that just yet, but up to now it seems real nice. Obviously this bike features the Triumph's T-Plane triple, and it's got that nice, it's sort of given the bike a bit of character, I think. I sort of feel like these kind of bikes, if this was super smooth, it probably wouldn't fit with the bike. It feels like it's got a bit of a grumpy sort of attitude to it, if that's a silly thing to say really, but honestly something along them lines. It's just got that little bit of character. And yeah, the quick shifter blipper seems to be very nice. Got some pretty dark clouds up in the sky there. I hope we're not going to get wet today. So in terms of wind buffeting or anything, I've got the screen in the highest position at the moment. It's really as simple as that to adjust the screen. Hydraulic, I think somebody said at one point. But yeah, in the highest position, I'm really feeling no buffeting at all. The wind's probably hitting just above my visor there, so there is a little bit just touching the top of my helmet, but not too much. Nothing that's causing any sort of Mr. Bobblehead or anything like that. The lane warning lights here on the mirrors, sided, well, I can't remember how they term it, but they're really good, they're really effective, they really catch your eye. All this switch gear is basically identical to my Rocket 3, so it's all illuminated switch gear. I know it to be really easy to operate, and very, very sort of, the dash and the way that the modes work and all that is really quite intuitive. It's not the sort of thing that you need to sit down with the manual and wonder how you're going to remember it all. It pretty much answers its own questions. You can kind of flick through and see what you're supposed to do. One thing that people do consistently comment on with the Rocket and some of the other Triumph range is the indicators and the little toggle switch there for the menus, and how they're too close and you catch it. I can honestly say I've never caught it. I've had my Rocket for about 8 months or so now. I've rode several other Triumphs with this configuration, and people whinge about that, and I just can't understand it. I don't see why. It's there. It's right where your thumb comes out. There's why would you reach down and catch it like that? I suppose if you had really big bulky gloves on, then it might be more of an issue. And I suppose it might be born from the fact that we don't particularly wear great big thick gloves here in Western Australia. It's not really necessary. But no, that to my mind is absolutely no issue whatsoever. So this bike has the fully adjustable automatic suspension, which changes with your modes and sort of to accommodate the riding style required. Again, not been able to experience it just yet. Can't get away from the traffic. But gosh, this is a comfy bike. It could be my familiarity with the GS and the fact that this is so similar in layout that I immediately feel at home straight away. This strikes me as being a very, very easy bike to ride. I mean, regardless of whether you're used to anything else, I can't see how this could not be perceived as being an easy bike to ride. It's just very, yeah, it's lovely. One thing I have noticed, and I suppose it's no different to the sort of lane departure warning lights in your car and that sort of stuff, is when you are riding in traffic like this and there are other cars around you, because of this light that comes on, I keep thinking I've left the indicators on. I keep checking. I'm almost certain the indicators are self-cancelling on this bike. I really don't think there's anything that it doesn't have, to be fair. As soon as I get the opportunity, I'll pull over somewhere and we'll just have a quick run through the specs. Yeah, that quick shifter, even at slow speeds around town, so to speak, is very smooth, very, very nice. Oh, this'll do. This is a nice little spot just here. Okay, so I'm not going to get too deeply involved in specs, but let's just run through some of the basics. Anything in a bit more detail than I'm talking about now, you'll soon find on Google. Google's got answers for everything. So the Triumph Tiger range now starts in Australian dollars at $29,990. This particular GT Explorer comes in at $32,600. It's available in 3 colours, essentially white, black and blue. Snowdonia white, sapphire black and lucerne blue. The blue is really nice. So what are we looking at? Basically, we've got an 1160cc T-plane triple producing 148 brake horsepower. That's at 9,000 RPM and 130 Newton meters of torque. Bike weighs 255 kilograms, and the seat height, which is really important on this type of thing, adjustable from 850 to 870 millimeters, I think it is. 19-inch front wheel, 18-inch rear wheel. We've got automatic Showa suspension, front and rear, obviously, and Brembo brakes, full colour TFT. I'll show you the TFT in just one second. That's absolutely gorgeous, the TFT. And basically the bike is absolutely laden with electronics. You've got blind spot radar, cruise control, shift assist, up and down, hill hold, 5 riding modes. I think at least one is configurable. Tire pressure monitoring, adaptive cornering lighting, all LED with the auxiliary lights as well. I mentioned the 7-inch TFT with the Triumph connectivity system, and ABS, traction control, heated grips, heated seats. I'm not sure whether this model has the heated seats. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah, so I think basically the Explorer, it has all the bells and whistles. But yeah, what a beautiful machine. Anyway, this is the boring bit. Let's get back on with the riding, shall we? Okay, so welcome back on board. And let's see if we can find some little bit nicer roads. I'd have to say that the amount of road noise that's coming up through the tunnel here is considerably less than the GS. That's certainly a plus for the Triumph. But then when you look down there, there's a lot less hole. It's a bit more going on down there, where the GS is very, very open. So that's certainly one plus for the Triumph. Another major plus for the Triumph is the quick shifter. The quick shifter is way, way better than BMW's. Much better, a lot smoother, a lot smoother. Cruise control, super easy to operate. Basically it's 2 presses. First press turns the system on, second press sets the speed. Very, very easy. You just very easily get used to the click click and you're on. I'm just in normal road mode at the moment, which is essentially giving me the comfiest ride. Little bumps and undulations in the road that you're really not feeling any of them. This is certainly a bike that's built for distance. As is been the case with every Triumph I have ridden recently, the mirrors are absolutely spectacular. The last bike I reviewed was the Yamaha MT-10 SP, and the mirrors on that were quite shocking. You know, they really were fairly useless. Some of the little finishing touches on this bike, and again, I've got to say, all Triumphs, they're very good with their little emblems here and there, and just nice little finishing touches that make all the difference. It makes you feel like you're riding something, you know, you own something that's a little bit special. I think it's probably a sign of you know, old age creeping ever closer, but I do like these days to sit up nice and straight with no weight on your wrists. That makes such a difference to your comfort levels. And I think at the end of the day, and again, you know, 20-30 years ago I wouldn't have agreed with myself, but I think if you're not comfortable on a bike, you might as well forget it. I've bought bikes in the past that have been really because they look cool and they go well, but if you can't ride a bike for more than a couple of hours, assuming that's what you want to do, it's not a lot of use. Comfort is absolutely paramount, and this is comfortable. It tracks absolutely beautifully, absolutely not a flinch. Tracks lovely. The cruise control is also nice and easy to knock off, which sounds silly maybe, but I think that's actually quite an important thing. A lot of the time you ride along with cruise control on, and these days you quite often don't have a cancel button on a bike, so you can turn the cruise control on, you can set it, you can adjust it, but you don't have a cancel button. You cancel it by pulling the clutch in, changing the gear, backing off the throttle, one of those options. And you don't want to be touching your brakes and pulling your clutch in, you know, if you're riding along at 100 k's an hour or whatever. So the ability to just roll off your throttle ever so slightly and it knocks off the throttle, it knocks off the cruise, I think is a bonus. And the Tiger does it beautifully. Just the slightest little squeeze of the throttle in the negative direction, and off she goes, smooth as. Even at low revs, that T-plane crank gives such a nice little brr, brr. It's nice to just play with the noise. We almost treat our bikes a little bit like musical instruments sometimes, don't we? It's all about the noise. Okay, so we're in sport mode now, and you can feel that the suspension has just stiffened up a little bit, as you would expect. Still very nice and very smooth though. Behind this. That quick shifter is very nice and smooth. The whole bike is very sure-footed, very planted. Just slow down and see if we can I don't know whether you'll hear what I'm hearing over the wind noise, but to try and give you an idea what the engine sounds like. Okay, we'll go from second gear and quick shift through them. That's a very, very sweet sounding engine. That's a lovely tone. Absolutely lovely. Okay, so I've just had a little bit of a whiz through the lanes. Now I'll slow down a little bit so hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. There's not too much wind noise. I'm going to draw this one to a close now, but this is an absolutely incredible machine. Triumph have done a fantastic job here. They're aiming at a particular market, and they've absolutely hit it on the nose, you know. This bike really doesn't do anything badly. I really honestly cannot find fault. The only thing I could maybe say that doesn't go in its favour when you compare it to the GS is in the twisties. The lower centre of gravity on the GS does allow it to tip in a little bit easier. The GS maybe feels like a little bit smaller bike when you're throwing it around a bit because of that low centre of gravity. It's marginal, it's not something that would sway me either way, but I think that's the only difference that I could really pick up on. Other than that, this is as comfortable. The performance is definitely better. The noise is most definitely better. It's a lovely tone. The engine tone is lovely. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to buy one of these. If you're in the slightest bit interested, I would suggest that you ride one. You couldn't fail to be impressed with this. This particular bike is currently on demo at Curry's in Balcata, so pop along there and see Sam in the Triumph department, and he will certainly look after you. They're a great guy. The great guys there. They're very, very easygoing, and no pressure, which is nice of a salesman these days. Bit of a rarity. But yeah, this bike it really does tick all the boxes. Yeah, I honestly cannot fault it. It's really, really nice. It's really comfortable. That seat that initially I thought might be a little bit soft, it's just stayed soft and stayed comfy. I've been on the bike for probably best part of a couple of hours now, and great. I might have put a slightly bigger screen on maybe, but then again, only if you were going a long distance. If it was on a big tour, that might be worth considering, but there's really nothing to do. The bike's got everything. So yeah, superb, absolutely superb. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching Handlebars and Holidays once again. All sorts of things coming up. We've got some interesting bikes to ride, so stick around. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. So I will catch you again soon, and thanks for watching, and as always, take care and ride safe.